She thought she was just a quiet marketing intern. Until the night she stepped into the CEO's office and saw his reflection vanish from the glass behind him. Now she's trapped between a corporate empire hiding ancient secrets, a king who rules the night in a suit and tie, and a rebel vampire council planning to burn the world to ash. This is the story of Emily Hart, the human girl who was never meant to enter luminary dynamics, yet somehow became the center of a war older than the skyscrapers around her. If you think you know vampires, you've never seen them fight over a throne made of power, blood, and billion-dollar branding. Welcome to the empire of the Vampire King. Alright, before we start, where in the world are you watching this from? Let's light up the comments. Emily Hart stared at her reflection in the elevator doors as they slid shut. Her hands tightened around the strap of her backpack. This was Luminary Dynamics, the company everyone in the world talked about. The richest tech empire on the planet. The one that invented apps, devices, and systems people couldn't live without. And somehow, she, Emily from a tiny town with a community college degree, had landed an internship here. She still wasn't sure how. Her interview was barely 15 minutes long, and she felt like she had rambled the whole time. But a week later, she received an email saying she'd been accepted. When she walked out into the lobby that morning, she felt like she'd stepped into another world. Everything looked expensive. White marble floors polished to mirror shine, digital screens showing the company logo, tall glass windows that made the building feel endless. But the thing that struck her the most was the temperature. It was cold. Not office cold, but almost winter-level cold. Goosebumps rose on her arms even though she wore a sweater. "New intern?" a voice asked. Emily turned to see a woman in a sleek black suit. Her name badge read Sophie Hale, HR manager. "Yes, I'm Emily." Sophie smiled politely, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Follow me. We like to give new interns the tour." As they walked, Emily noticed the employees. Everyone moved quickly, quietly, and with perfect posture. Their skin looked pale, almost too pale, and their eyes followed her with a strange focus. It reminded her of how cats watched birds. Sophie led her through multiple floors. "This is marketing," she explained. "You'll spend most of your time here. If you need anything, speak to your supervisor, Melissa." Emily nodded. What about the top floors? I heard the CEO works up there." Sophie's expression flickered, just for a second. "Mr. Vale's floor is restricted. You won't need to go there." "Is he strict?" Emily asked. "Not strict," Sophie said as they approached a glass door. "Just private." The way she said it made Emily's skin prickle. Inside the marketing department, people were typing, designing ads, analyzing data. It looked normal, almost comforting after the chilly silence outside. Melissa, a woman in her 40s with red hair and friendly eyes, welcomed her warmly. "Emily, we're happy to have you." She gave her a quick tour of the office and showed her a desk near the window. Emily settled in and opened her laptop, trying to calm her nerves. She wanted to do well. She needed this internship. Her mother worked 2 jobs, her brother was still in high school, and Emily hoped this opportunity could change everything for her family. Hours passed quietly. She worked on simple tasks, checking emails, making notes, organizing campaign files. At lunchtime, she walked to the cafeteria, grabbed a sandwich, and looked out at the city from the 25th floor. That was when she saw him. Adrian Vale, CEO. He was across the cafeteria, walking with 2 security guards. Everyone stepped aside as he passed. He had an aura that felt almost unreal. Tall, sharply dressed, with an expression like he knew everything happening around him without looking. Emily froze as his eyes briefly swept over her. Dark steel-gray eyes. Cold. Ancient. Her stomach twisted, and she quickly looked away. When she dared to glance back, he was gone. "Lucky you," a voice said behind her. Another intern, Jake, sat down with his tray. "He never comes to the cafeteria." Emily swallowed. "He looked at me." Jake nodded with a grin. "Yeah, that happens. He kind of scans everything. Makes people nervous. Then he leaned closer. They say he almost never appears in daylight. Emily blinked. What? Why? Jake shrugged. No idea. He only holds meetings at night. Like midnight night. I heard he sometimes works until 4 in the morning. Emily frowned. That's insane. Probably just an eccentric billionaire thing, Jake joked. You know, money, power, no sleep. Emily laughed weakly, but she couldn't shake the image of those gray eyes. Something about them felt wrong. Not dangerous, but old. Much older than he looked. As she returned to work, she tried to focus, but strange details kept distracting her. The office remained cold all day. Employees whispered about a meeting happening after sundown, but nobody explained what that meant. And every corridor she passed felt like someone was watching her. That night, after she got home, her mother called. Honey, how was the first day? Emily forced cheer into her voice. Great. The building's gorgeous. Everyone's professional. The CEO is unique. Her mom laughed. As long as he's not mean. No, Emily said slowly. Just intense. She didn't want to worry her mom, so she left out the part where she felt like prey under his gaze. But as she lay in bed later, staring at the ceiling, she couldn't forget it. She was sure of one thing. Something about luminary dynamics wasn't normal. And its CEO was far from ordinary. The next day began normally. Emily arrived early, determined to prove herself. She finished a small report, prepared notes for Melissa, and even joined Jake for a quick coffee in the break room. But around noon, an email notification popped up on her screen. From executive.assistant@luminaridon.com. Subject: CEO requires assistance. Time: 10:43 p.m. Location: Executive floor. Room 41. Emily blinked. 10:43 p.m. That had to be a mistake. She went to Melissa's desk. Melissa. I got an email saying the CEO wants my help, tonight. Melissa looked up sharply. Let me see. Emily showed her the screen. Melissa's eyes widened just slightly before she masked her reaction. This is unusual, Melissa said. Interns don't normally get called up there. So should I ignore it? No, Melissa said, already typing. If the CEO asked for you, you go. But, Emily, be careful. The executive floor is different. Emily frowned. Different how? Melissa hesitated. Just follow the instructions. And don't go alone. But at 10 that night, when Emily returned to the building, after spending hours convincing herself she shouldn't panic, the lobby was empty except for a single security guard. He checked her ID, then pressed the elevator button. You're expected, he said in a low voice. The elevator ride felt endless. Each floor passed with a soft beep until finally the display read, Executive level. Access confirmed. The doors opened to a hallway lit with soft gold lights. The air was colder here, almost freezing, and silent in a way that felt unnatural. Emily hugged her arms and walked slowly, following the door numbers until she reached room 41. She knocked. A deep voice said, Enter. She pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room was dimly lit, with tall windows overlooking the glowing city below. A long table stood in the center, but it was empty except for one figure at the far end. Adrian Vale. He stood with his back to her, looking out at the night sky. Miss Hart, he said without turning around. His voice was smooth, calm, and disturbingly quiet. You are punctual. Emily tried not to shiver. Thank you, sir. I wasn't sure if the email was meant for me. It was. He turned. The sight of him up close stole her breath. He looked flawless, almost perfectly sculpted, with sharp cheekbones, straight black hair, and eyes that seemed darker at night. His suit was black and tailored, fitting him with a kind of effortless power. Do you know why you're here? He asked. No, she admitted. I'm sorry. That is acceptable. He stepped closer, slow and deliberate. You worked on brand analysis today. I reviewed your notes. Emily blinked. My notes. They were just basic graphs. They were honest, Adrian said. Most interns produce meaningless numbers. You wrote what you actually saw. That is rare. Her throat tightened. Praise from him felt like a spotlight suddenly aimed at her. Thank you, sir. He studied her quietly, eyes lingering on her face as if reading thoughts she hadn't spoken. Emily fought the urge to step back. Adrian finally gestured to the table. Sit. She obeyed, watching him circle the room with slow, measured steps. I require a human perspective, he said. Unfiltered. Your insights will determine the direction of our next campaign. Emily nodded, pulling out her notebook. Of course. He stopped beside her, leaning slightly closer. His presence felt overwhelming, like cold air pressing against her skin. What do you fear, Miss Hart? He asked suddenly. She jerked her head up. Fear? Yes, your fear shapes your judgment. I need to understand it. Emily hesitated, but saying nothing felt wrong. I fear not being good enough, she said quietly. I don't want to be the intern people forget. His eyes softened, not warm but curious. You think you are forgettable. Sometimes. He tilted his head slightly. You are not. Emily felt her heart jump. Before she could speak, the door opened slightly, and Victor Cross, one of the board members, peeked in. Adrian, Victor said, voice tight. The others are ready. Adrian's expression hardened. I am occupied. Victor's eyes flicked to Emily with thinly veiled disdain. With her? Yes, Adrian said simply. The room grew tense. Victor forced a smile. Very well. We will wait. When the door shut, Emily exhaled shakily. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to interrupt anything important. You didn't, Adrian said, his tone calm again. They can wait. You, however, have my attention by choice. By choice. The words felt unreal. He walked back to the windows. Tell me, Miss Hart. What do you think of luminary dynamics? Emily swallowed. It's impressive, powerful, but it feels secretive. Like parts of the company don't want to be seen. Adrian's lips curved. Not quite a smile. More like someone hearing a truth he expected. Good, he said softly. You see clearly. Emily looked at him, and for the first time, she felt like she wasn't speaking to a normal CEO. There was something else behind those eyes. Something ancient. Something hungry. Something watching her with more interest than made sense. When he turned back toward her, shadows clung to him in a strange way, as if the room bent around his shape. You may go, he said. We will speak again. Oh, okay. She stood quickly, gathering her things. As she headed toward the door, Adrian spoke one last time, voice low enough to make her pause. Miss Hart. He turned. Do not walk home alone tonight. Her heart thudded. Why not? He held her gaze, his eyes sharp as silver. Because the night notices things, he said. And it has noticed you. Emily didn't understand the meaning, but she felt it. A warning. Truth. Threat. She nodded and left, her pulse racing as the hallway swallowed her footsteps. Behind her, inside the dim room, Adrian watched the door long after it closed, expression unreadable, as if Emily Hart had shifted something he thought would never change. Emily arrived at work the next morning feeling tired but strangely wired. She hadn't slept much. Every time she closed her eyes, she remembered Adrian Vale's cold warning. The night notices things. And it has noticed you. What did that even mean? She tried to push it away as she entered the marketing office. Melissa greeted her with a quick smile, but there was worry in her eyes she tried to hide. Rough night? Melissa asked. Yeah. Emily hesitated. I had that late meeting with Mr. Vale. Melissa froze for a second, then forced a calm expression. I see. Well, don't expect that to be common. Emily nodded. He just needed my perspective on something. Melissa stared at her, as if trying to understand something deeper. Emily, just be careful. The executive floor works differently. Emily wanted to ask what differently meant, but Melissa had already walked away. She sat at her desk and began organizing her files. There were new assignments in her inbox. Campaign drafts, brand analysis, internal surveys. She opened a folder labeled Solis Project and blinked in confusion. This didn't look like any marketing project she'd ever seen. There were no slogans, no graphics, no drafts. Just confidential documents filled with coded diagrams, strange maps, and terms she didn't understand. IT distribution, perimeter blind zones, global camouflage sectors, nocturnal masking layer. What the hell? She whispered. She clicked on a video file labeled Solis Info. A map of the globe appeared. Then a soft golden wave spread across it. As the wave washed over each country, something chilling happened. Tiny red dots disappeared from view. Thousands at a time. Millions by the end. It was as if the wave erased entire populations in the darkness. A deep voice in the video narrated. Solis's masking layer ensures detection failure for targeted biological signatures. Global invisibility. Undetectable movement. Perfect concealment. Emily's stomach twisted. Invisibility. Biological signatures. What is this? She kept reading. Her breath caught when she saw. Solis beneficiary. Adrian Vale. Sovereign ID V01. Category. Nocturnal monarch. High rank. Designation. King-class entity. Emily stared. Then stared harder. King-class entity. Nocturnal monarch. Sovereign. Her hands trembled. This wasn't branding. This wasn't marketing. This was something else. A shadow fell across her desk. Emily jumped so hard she nearly knocked over her coffee. Adrian Vale stood in front of her. He looked as calm as always, yet his presence pulled the air out of the room. The office behind him seemed to dim, like light bent around him. Emily scrambled to close the files. Mr. Vale, sir. I didn't mean to open. I authorized your access. His voice was quiet but firm. You may continue reading. She swallowed. What exactly is Solis? Adrian looked at her with eyes like a storm. A system the world depends on without knowing it. That doesn't answer anything, she whispered. He studied her carefully, as if trying to decide something. Then he spoke softly. Walk with me. Her pulse spiked, but she stood and followed him out of the office. Employees moved out of their way instinctively, their gazes dropping. They entered a private elevator. Adrian pressed his thumb to the sensor, and the elevator began moving downward. Below the floors she knew. Emily clutched the handrail. We're going down. Yes. To where? The real luminary dynamics. When the doors opened, she gasped. The underground floor looked nothing like a tech company. It resembled a fortress hall carved from dark stone, lit by tall silver lamps. Doors of black metal lined the walls. The temperature was colder than anything upstairs. This is where the board meets, Adrian said. Emily followed him down the hall, her steps echoing. Her voice was small. Mr. Vale, what exactly are you? He stopped, turned, and looked at her without any mask. Ancient, he said quietly. Older than nations. Older than the empires humans wrote into history. Emily's breath caught. You're not human. No. A long silence stretched between them. He stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. I told you the night noticed you. And I told you not to walk alone. Emily swallowed hard. Because of what? Because of you. Because of my kind. He let the words fall like ice. I am their king. Emily felt dizzy. King of what kind? The answer came from behind her, from a voice that wasn't Adrian's. Our kind little human. Emily spun around. Victor Cross stood in the shadows of the hall, Helena Ward beside him. Helena smiled slow and sharp. Welcome to the kingdom beneath your feet. Their eyes gleamed a deep, unnatural red. Emily stumbled back. Adrian stepped in front of her instantly like a shield. His tone dropped into something colder than winter. Enough. Helena tilted her head. She knows Adrian. The moment she opened Solis, she became involved. Victor's lips curled. And humans don't stay involved for long. Adrian's voice became lethal. Leave. The walls vibrated with the force of it. Victor and Helena retreated, but not before Victor whispered. She'll ruin everything. Silence returned. Emily was shaking. Adrian turned to look at her. What you have seen cannot be unseen, he said gently. And what you now know must be kept secret. For your safety. Emily's voice broke. What are you? Adrian hesitated only a moment before speaking the truth. A vampire, Miss Hart. And not just any vampire. The one who rules them. Emily stared at him. Her mind screamed to run. But her body didn't move. And this, she whispered, gesturing around them. This company. A kingdom built for the modern world, Adrian said. I rule quietly. The world does not know. That is how it must be. Emily pressed a hand to her forehead. This is insane. Yes, Adrian said softly. But it is real. She stepped back, breathing fast. Why me? Why show me this? His jaw tightened. 'Cause you saw too much. And because you see clearly. Most humans do not. Emily stared into his cold gray eyes. And for a brief moment, saw something raw underneath the ancient calm. Something lonely. Something hungry. Something watching her as if she had become the one unpredictable thing in his vast, immortal world. Emily didn't remember leaving the underground chambers. Everything blurred together. One moment she was staring at Victor and Helena's glowing eyes. The next, she was riding the elevator back to the office level. Adrian stood beside her the whole time, silent, as if giving her space to breathe. When the elevator doors opened, he spoke softly. You may take the rest of the day off. Emily hesitated. I'm not sure. Going home alone is a good idea. His eyes flickered with something sharp. It is not. She felt a chill. Then what should I do? Adrian stepped closer. Not too close, but enough that she felt his presence steady her trembling. You may stay on the company grounds until nightfall ends, he said. There are floors where the night cannot reach. His words sounded strange, but she believed him fully. Because she had seen the truth. She followed him into a private lounge area. Warm lighting, soft couches, massive windows overlooking the city. The temperature here was normal, almost cozy. Adrian walked to a shelf and poured her a glass of water. Drink. Emily took it with shaking hands. Do you drink water? A faint amusement touched his lips. On occasion. She sat on one of the couches, trying to steady her thoughts. Adrian remained standing, watching the skyline. Ask whatever you wish, he said. Emily didn't know where to begin. But the question that escaped her was small and unexpected. Do you kill people? Adrian didn't flinch. Not unless necessary. That didn't comfort her much. He continued, voice smooth and calm. I feed without harm. The world has changed. I have adapted. My rule is peace. Quiet. Order. Emily nodded slowly. And the others? The board. They prefer chaos, Adrian said. They believe we should rule openly, not in the shadows. Emily swallowed. And Solis helps hide your existence. Yes. So the coup, she hesitated. They want to overthrow you. Adrian's silence was the answer. Emily looked down at her trembling hands. I'm just an intern. How am I caught in all of this? Adrian stepped closer, his voice lower. Because Victor and Helena saw something in you that they fear. Fear. Me. Not your strength, Adrian said. Your influence on me. Emily blinked, stunned. I influence you. He turned fully to her. Humans rarely matter to me. Most blend together. But you. His eyes softened in a way she had never seen. You stand out. Her heart thudded painfully. She whispered, "Why?" Adrian didn't answer at first. His jaw tightened as if he were fighting the words. Finally, "Because your emotions are loud. Humans live short lives, burning bright and fast. You feel everything deeply. And that is dangerous to my kind." His gaze locked with hers. "Dangerous to me." Emily felt heat rush to her face, and a strange heaviness in her chest. She didn't know what to say. Adrian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, expression tightening. "Victor is stirring trouble upstairs," he said. "I must attend to it." Emily stood. "Should I wait here?" "For now, yes." He reached the door but paused. Turned back. "Emily." Hearing her name from him made her breath catch. "Do not trust anyone who seeks you out," he said. "If they approach you, call my name. I will hear it." That sentence seemed impossible, yet she didn't doubt it. He disappeared down the hallway with silent, impossible speed. Emily sank onto the couch, pressing her palms to her eyes. She had walked into an internship. She had found a hidden kingdom ruled by ancient beings. And the king of those beings looked at her as if she mattered. She stayed there for hours, trying to understand her feelings. Fear. Confusion. But also a strange attraction. Not romantic, not exactly. More like she was drawn to him, unable to escape the gravity of someone older than history, yet strangely human in moments. Night crept across the sky outside the windows, and Emily's nerves tightened. She couldn't help but feel watched, as if shadows themselves leaned closer whenever she looked away. When the door suddenly opened, she flinched. But it was Helena Ward. Helena leaned against the doorframe, red lips curved. "Relax, little intern. If I wanted you dead, you wouldn't hear me coming." Emily's blood ran cold. Helena stepped inside, her heels echoing. "Adrian hides you," she said. "That is adorable. And foolish." Emily forced out. "He told me not to trust anyone." Helena laughed softly. "I'm flattered. He never gives warnings lightly." Emily stayed quiet, trying not to show fear. Helena circled her slowly. "You matter to him. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know what it means?" Emily didn't answer. Helena leaned close, whispering in her ear. "It means you will break him." Before Emily could react, the lights flickered. And Adrian appeared in the doorway like a shadow ripping free from the darkness. His eyes glowed faintly. "Leave. Now." Helena smirked. "Of course, my king." She slipped past him and vanished into the hallway. Adrian exhaled slowly, then approached Emily. "Did she harm you?" "No," Emily whispered. "Just scared me." His expression softened, though his eyes stayed cold from anger. "She will not approach you again." Emily nodded. Adrian studied her for a long moment. "I should have kept you away from all this." Something in Emily's chest pulled tight. "But you didn't." "No," his voice was low, conflicted. "I didn't." Silence fell between them, heavier and more intimate than before. Emily finally whispered, "What now?" Adrian stepped closer. Close enough she felt the coolness of his presence wrap around her like a shadow. "Now," he said, "you stay near me." Emily's heartbeat thundered. Because she knew. Staying near him meant stepping into a world she could never leave. And something inside her wanted to step closer anyway. The next morning, Emily arrived at Luminary Dynamics earlier than usual. She didn't know why. Maybe she felt safer inside the building, even though she now knew the truth hiding beneath it. Or maybe she wanted to see Adrian again, even though that thought made her heart twist in confusing ways. The lobby felt different today. The employees weren't moving with their usual perfect calm. They looked nervous, alert, even frightened. And every few seconds, someone glanced upward toward the executive floors. Emily stepped into the elevator, and Jake rushed in behind her. "Emily! Thank God. Did you hear?" "Hear what?" Jake leaned close, whispering. "Some kind of meeting exploded last night on the top floor. Like a huge argument. Security sealed off 3 levels. Emily stiffened. Do you know what happened? No one knows. Jake swallowed. But people are saying that 2 board members want Adrian out. Emily's stomach dropped. Victor. Helena. Baku. The elevator doors opened on the marketing floor. Emily stepped out, trying to calm her racing heart. Melissa pulled her aside immediately. We need to talk, Melissa whispered. Come to my office. Emily followed her into the small room. Melissa closed the door, locking it. Emily. Something serious is happening. Her voice trembled. I don't know what you've gotten pulled into, but whatever it is, it's dangerous. Emily opened her mouth, but Melissa held up a hand. I don't want you to tell me details. Knowing less keeps me alive. Emily froze. Melissa's eyes were tired and scared, but firm. If anyone, not your co-workers, not security, not even someone who looks harmless, asks you questions, you tell them nothing. Understand? Emily nodded quickly. You're a good intern, Melissa said. I don't want you hurt. Emily swallowed a lump in her throat. I'll be careful. Melissa nodded and turned back to her desk, dismissing the subject. But Emily knew the fear under Melissa's voice wasn't normal office fear. It was something primal. Something that came from knowing predators walked in the shadows. She returned to her desk, but before she could sit, her phone buzzed. From Vale. Meet me. Floor 50. Room 3. Emily didn't hesitate. She took the elevator up, higher and higher until the building grew silent. Floor 50 was one of the restricted levels, the lights dim and cold. She walked down a narrow hallway to room 3. Inside, Adrian stood with his back to her again, staring at a map on a wide screen. But this time he didn't hide his tension. His voice was sharp. Close the door. She obeyed. He turned. His eyes were colder than she had ever seen. Ice instead of storm. The coup has begun. Emily's pulse raced. What happened? Victor sabotaged several security systems, Adrian said. Helena redirected shipments of Solis components. They're gathering support. And they have influence. Emily whispered. Because they want chaos. They want a world without shadows, Adrian said. A world ruled openly by vampires. A world I refuse to create. He walked toward her, pacing slowly like a predator controlling his anger. Victor wants to dethrone me, Adrian said. Helena wants to destroy Solis. They believe peace makes us weak. Emily struggled to speak. What can I do? You can understand the truth. Adrian stopped in front of her, voice lowering. I am not the only danger here. Victor and Helena come from older lines. They crave fear, blood, power. Emily shivered. And they see you as a threat, Adrian added softly. Me. I'm nobody. His eyes darkened. Not to me. Emily's heart stuttered. She looked away, heat rising in her cheeks. Adrian continued. They believe I care for you. And in our world, caring is seen as weakness. Her breath caught. Do you care? A long silence filled the room. Adrian didn't step back. Didn't hide. Didn't lie. Yes, he said quietly. More than I should. Emily felt the world tilt. She didn't know what to say, only that her pulse pounded too hard and her chest felt tight. Adrian turned away first. But that is why they came after you last night. Helena approached you to test my reaction. To see if she could provoke a mistake. Emily hugged her arms. I was terrified. I know, Adrian said, voice rougher. I felt it. Felt it. Emily whispered. Adrian met her eyes. Your fear reached me like a signal. Distance doesn't silence it. Emily tried to process that, but footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. Rest. Purposeful. Adrian moved instantly, silent and fierce, positioning himself between Emily and the door. The steps passed by, but Emily's heart didn't slow until the sound faded. Adrian looked back at her. They will escalate. And you need to learn how to protect yourself. How? Emily breathed. He offered his hand. By learning the truth of this world. Emily hesitated only a moment before placing her hand in his. And the moment she did, a cold shock ran through her arm, but not painful. More like stepping into a deeper, older reality. Adrian's voice softened. I will not let them touch you. She believed him. Even though she knew he was an impossibly dangerous creature. Even though her fear and her fascination tangled together in ways she didn't understand. Adrian led her deeper into the restricted floor, as alarms flickered and faint murmurs of unrest echoed from above. The coup had begun. And Emily was already in the center of it. The next few days were a storm. Meetings stretched into dawn. Lights flickered across the executive floors. Rumors whispered through the company. CEO emergencies, security breaches, late-night arguments. But Emily lived it from the inside now. Adrian kept her close. Not by locking her away, but by pulling her into confidential planning sessions, watching her reactions, asking for her views in ways no CEO would ask an intern. Emily's whole world shifted. One night, around 2 a.m., she sat in Adrian's private office while he and two loyal advisors debated strategy. The board is split, said Rowan, a sharp-faced vampire with dark brown eyes. Half are undecided. Victor and Helena are getting louder. And more reckless, added Elise, another advisor. Victor tried to override the servers tonight. He wants to shut down Solis worldwide. Adrian's voice turned lethal. If Solis fails, we will be exposed. Emily stepped forward. What happens if humans learn about you? Rowan's jaw tightened. War. Elise added. Fear. Kiss. Governments collapsing. Adrian's gaze returned to Emily. This world is fragile. My rule stops ancient instincts. If I fall, centuries of buried hunger will rise. Emily's throat tightened. They want to destroy everything. They want freedom, Adrian corrected. Their version of it. Rowan left the office, Elise following. Adrian remained standing by the tall window, the city lights reflecting off his calm, cold expression. Emily approached him slowly. You're tired. He looked at her with a strange softness. I do not tire as humans do. But I feel the weight of a coming storm. Emily stepped closer, almost without realizing it. You're not alone. Adrian turned to her fully, his expression shifting, less guarded, more vulnerable. You should not be near me, he said quietly. Not now. Not when they want to use you against me. Emily felt something spark inside her. Fear. Defiance. Something deeper. I don't care, she said. His eyes flicked to her lips for half a second before he quickly looked away. You do not understand what it means, he said. For me to care for someone human. It creates a weakness enemies can bleed. Emily shook her head. I'm not asking you to protect me from everything. But I am asking myself, Adrian said softly. Their eyes locked again, and the world outside faded. Suddenly the lights flickered. A loud bang echoed down the hallway. Emily jumped, but Adrian was instantly alert. His entire body shifting into something sharper and more dangerous. Then Rowan burst into the office. Victor struck the lower floors, Rowan said. He's taken control of the nocturnal vaults. Adrian's face hardened. The vaults contain ancient seals. If he breaks one. I know, Rowan replied. We need to move. Adrian turned to Emily. His voice was tense. Stay here. Emily grabbed his arm instinctively. No. I want to help. You cannot face Victor, Adrian said, eyes fierce. He is centuries older. Faster. Merciless. Emily swallowed. I'm not asking to fight. I can help in other ways. Rowan looked skeptical. How? Emily pointed to the main screen. Victor is using the company's internal channels for communication. I worked in marketing. I know how branding messages are broadcast. If he's trying to persuade others, I can counter him. Rowan blinked. She might be right. Adrian hesitated. Emily stepped closer, voice steady. Let me help. Finally, Adrian nodded once. Stay between me and Rowan at all times. Emily moved to the computer and began typing fast, pulling up company channels, live feeds, internal group chats. Victor's voice appeared across the system, calm and cold. Our king has grown weak. He hides us like shadows. We deserve the world. Join me. Adrian cursed softly. He is manipulating the younger vampires. Emily's eyes sharpened. Let's give them something else to listen to. She typed a new message, attaching data from Solis, showing the disaster that open rule would cause. Riots, exposure, human extinction. Then she added one line. Adrian Vale has kept you alive. Rowan stared. They'll listen to her message. It feels honest. Adrian's eyes met Emily's, and something unreadable flickered in them. Before he could speak, another explosion rattled the building. Adrian moved. We go. Victor is at the vaults. Rowan transformed, the air around him shimmering as his eyes darkened. Be ready. Adrian touched Emily's arm. Stay behind me. Emily nodded, heart racing. They sprinted through the hallways, Adrian moving fast but staying close enough for Emily to keep up. The building shook again. Alarms blared. Sparks burst from ceiling panels. As they reached the stairwell to the underground vaults, Helena stepped out of the shadows. Her smile was sharp and cold. You're too late. Adrian stepped in front of Emily instantly. Move. Helena laughed softly. Your little human sent a message. Clever girl. Emily felt a chill. You think this is about you and her? Helena asked. No. This is about the future of our kind. You have softened, grown sentimental. Adrian's eyes turned dark as night. Say her name again and see what happens. Helena smiled wider. Emily. Adrian lunged. Helena vanished in a blur, retreating down the stairs. Rowan grabbed Emily's arm. Stay with me. They ran. The vault doors were open. Victor stood inside, tall and rigid, glowing red symbols swirling around him. The air hummed with ancient power. Adrian stopped several feet away. Victor. This ends now. Victor turned, eyes red as burning coals. Yes, it does. It clashed. Two ancient forces, faster than lightning. Emily could barely see the movements, just flashes of claws, fangs, shadows slamming into shadows. Rowan kept her protected behind a pillar. Then she saw it. A tablet on the floor, open to the vault's seal control interface. Victor had nearly broken one of the seals. Just one more step and something ancient would be unleashed. Rowan! Emily shouted. Help me get to that panel. Rowan cursed. It's too dangerous. Adrian needs me, she yelled. Rowan hesitated but then moved. The moment Victor hurled Adrian across the room, Emily sprinted for the panel. Victor saw her. His eyes narrowed. You again. He blurred toward her. But Adrian appeared in front of her, blocking Victor's attack with a roar that shook the air. Emily dropped to her knees and typed fast, reversing the damage Victor had done. The seal began to stabilize. Victor screamed. You let a human undo centuries of fate? Adrian hissed. She saved you from your own stupidity. With one final strike, Adrian slammed Victor into the vault wall. Rowan seized chains glowing with silver light and bound Victor tight. Helena appeared at the door, eyes wide with fury, but she fled before Adrian could reach her. Silence fell. Adrian turned to Emily. Her hands were shaking. Her knees felt weak. But she had saved the vault. Adrian stepped closer, lowering himself to meet her gaze. Emily, he whispered. You could have died. But I didn't, she whispered back. Because you were there. His eyes softened in a way she had never seen. Not ancient. Not king-like. Human. He reached out slowly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I told you caring makes me weak, he said softly. But you make me stronger. Emily's heart pounded. Outside the vault, alarms still blared. The coup wasn't over. Victor and Helena weren't defeated. But in that moment, in the dark quiet, Emily and Adrian stood close enough to feel each other's breath. Close enough to know something between them had changed forever. Luminary dynamics felt like a war zone. Red emergency lights pulsed through the hallways. Electronic panels sparked. Doors that were once secure now hung open. The building shook every few minutes, trembling from clashes deep below or sabotage high above. Emily followed Adrian through the corridors, her heart pounding. Rowan and Elise walked beside them, tense and alert, listening for any sign of danger. Every shadow felt alive. Every sound felt like a threat. The coup had erupted fully. Helena and her loyalists were taking floor after floor, using tech systems and old vampire abilities. Victor, now imprisoned in the vaults, was only one head of the Hydra. The rest were still moving. And Emily felt it in her bones. The company was moments away from collapsing into chaos. Adrian stopped suddenly at a large black door. "This is the central command floor," he said. "If Helena reaches it, she will gain full access to Solis. She will disable the masking layer worldwide." Emily swallowed. "Revealing vampires to everyone. And sparking global disorder," Elise added. "Humans would panic. Governments would respond with force. Vampires would retaliate. War," Rowan said flatly. "Global, immediate, irreversible." Adrian turned to Emily. "Stay close to me." She nodded and followed him inside. The command center was a massive circular chamber with screens covering every wall. Data flashed in waves. Satellite images, global surveillance feeds, coded vampire channels. Several frightened human employees huddled in a corner while two vampire guards tried to keep them calm. The moment Adrian entered, everyone stiffened. "Your king is here," Rowan called out, voice echoing. Fear eased slightly from the human's eyes. Respect, and a deeper instinct, tightened the vampire's posture. Adrian faced the council of loyalists gathered around the main console. "Report," he said. One vampire, Marcus, stepped forward. "Helena has control of levels 60 through 72. She's using the board channels to rally more supporters. They believe Victor was detained illegally." "He committed treason," Adrian said with cold certainty. "There is nothing illegal about punishment." Marcus nodded. "Agreed. But she is convincing the younger ones that your rule is outdated." Emily watched the tension in Adrian's jaw. She could tell that under the calm he was furious and hurt. Rowan joined Marcus. "We need to cut Helena's access. But she's already overridden parts of the system. She's using the board's ancient privileging rights." Emily frowned. "Board members have privileges that outrank the CEO?" Marcus nodded grimly. "In human terms, yes. They created the ancient codes that built this empire. Adrian inherited the throne, but many old systems still follow their lineage signatures." Adrian turned to her. "Victor and Helena come from one of the oldest clans. My authority is modern compared to the roots they rely on." Emily stepped closer to the central console. "So she's using history to beat modern rule." Adrian's eyes met hers. "Exactly." Emily inhaled deeply. "Then we fight history with strategy." She moved to the screens and began studying the pattern of Helena's movements. "She's isolating sections," Emily said. "Not randomly. She's creating psychological pressure. She's cutting floors that cause panic in employees, and loyalty shifts in the younger vampires." Marcus blinked. "How do you see that?" "I work in marketing," Emily said. "Fear is a tool. She's using it like a campaign." Rowan leaned over her shoulder. "She's targeting the floors that control communication. And the floors that house mortal employees." "Exactly," Emily said. "She wants chaos. And she wants to force your people to choose sides." Adrian stepped closer, looking at the screen she tapped. "This cluster, floor 68. It's the crisis media control room," Emily said. "Whoever controls that floor controls the company's public narrative." Rowan swore. "If Helena gets there, She will broadcast the existence of vampires to the world, Elise finished. Emily turned sharply to Adrian. That's where she's going next. Adrian didn't hesitate. We intercept her. He turned to his guards. All floors above 67 are to be sealed. Those below are to be secured. No one moves without my order. The vampires bowed deeply. Yes, my king. Emily felt a jolt in her chest every time someone called him that. Adrian looked at her. Stay close. She nodded. Together, the group moved with unnerving speed, though Adrian slowed himself to match Emily's pace. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and distant roars echoed through the building as rogue vampires clashed with loyal guards. When they reached floor 68, the air was thick with smoke and the scent of burning circuits. Emily covered her mouth. What happened here? Rowan knelt near a sparking panel. Someone attacked the electrical lines. Helena's close. A soft, chilling laugh floated down the hallway. Helena stepped out of the shadows, her eyes glowing crimson. You are predictable, Adrian, she said. I knew you would come. Adrian moved faster than Emily could blink, appearing directly in front of Helena with a growl. Helena sidestepped gracefully. Oh, calm down, my king. I'm only here for what belongs to our kind. Adrian's voice fell to ice. You seek destruction. I seek evolution, Helena hissed. Before Adrian could strike, Helena snapped her fingers. And from the darkness behind her, a wave of younger vampires charged. Rowan shoved Emily against the wall. Stay down. Chaos exploded. Adrian collided with Helena in a blur of shadows and sparks. Rowan and Elise fought off the younger vampires with brutal precision, claws slashing, bodies flying into smashed glass walls. Emily darted behind a console, typing furiously. She opened the surveillance system and bypassed the safety locks. She'd seen Adrian do it once. She mimicked the pattern. The screens lit up with live feeds of every hallway, showing Helena's forces closing in. She's surrounding the floor. Emily shouted. We need to trap her. Disconnect the exits. Eliminate her power base. Rowan yelled while throwing an attacker into a metal door. Emily's fingers flew over the keyboard. I can shut down the floor access if I override the central circuit. Adrian slammed Helena into a wall so hard the concrete cracked. Do it, he commanded. Emily hacked into the access system, pulling from her marketing login, then using Adrian's emergency override code. He had shown her once by accident when he entered a meeting room. Floor lockdown initiated, the system said. Doors slammed shut around Helena and her rebels. Helena hissed, turning toward Emily. You little. Adrian blurred in front of her, blocking Helena's strike. You have lost, Adrian said calmly. Helena growled. This is only the beginning. She disappeared in a shimmer of speed, escaping through a single vent grate before Rowan could catch her. Adrian cursed softly. Emily sank to her knees, exhausted, trembling. Adrian reached her in seconds, lifting her gently to her feet. You did well, he murmured. You saved us. Emily breathed shakily. I didn't want to lose you. The words slipped out before she could stop them. Adrian's eyes softened, truly softened, for the first time since the coup began. He touched her cheek lightly. You will not. But Emily felt the truth. This wasn't over. Helena was planning something bigger. Something deadly. Something personal. The building had quieted, but only on the surface. Beneath the flickering lights and cracked walls, tension lingered like smoke. Emily followed Adrian into his penthouse office, a high, glass-walled sanctuary far above the chaos. The city glowed below, unaware of how close it had come to unraveling. Adrian stood at the window, the night reflecting off his pale face. You shouldn't be here, he said quietly. Emily froze. What? He turned, expression torn between duty and emotion. Every moment you are near me, you risk your life. Helena knows you matter. She will exploit that. Emily stepped closer. You keep saying I'm a weakness. But today I wasn't. I helped. Yes, Adrian said softly. And that frightens me more. Emily felt a sharp twist in her chest. Why? Adrian's voice dropped to a whisper, heavy with centuries of buried emotion. Because I cannot lose you. The confession hung in the air like a force. Emily's heart pounded so hard it hurt. You can't. He closed the distance between them slowly, as if fighting himself every step. Emily, he said, her name sounding almost like a plea. I have lived thousands of years. I have buried kingdoms, buried empires, buried people. His voice cracked, barely audible. I do not survive well when I care. Emily swallowed, her eyes stinging. I'm not asking you to be weak. But I am, Adrian whispered. Around you. Emily shook her head. No, you're stronger. You think I weaken you, but I make you fight harder. I make you protect what matters. Adrian stared at her with something raw. Pain, fear, longing all tangled together. Behind them, Rowan entered the room quietly, bowing his head. My king. We've captured the last of Helena's rebels. But she escaped. Adrian didn't look away from Emily. I know. Rowan hesitated. She left a message. Emily tensed. What kind of message? Rowan's voice lowered. A threat. Adrian straightened. Speak. Rowan looked between them, unsure how to deliver it gently. She said, she will break what you love first. Silence. Cold. Emily felt the meaning like a knife. Adrian's expression darkened into something ancient and terrifying. His voice was deep and dangerous. She will not touch her. Rowan nodded. We will increase security. No, Adrian said. She stays with me. Emily blinked. With you. There is no safer place in this world. Adrian's gaze softened again as it fell upon her. I will not let her strike at you. Emily lowered her eyes. I don't want to be the reason you lose everything. Adrian stepped closer, lifting her chin gently with his fingers. You are the reason I fight. Emily felt warmth bloom under her skin. Then let me fight with you. Adrian hesitated, then finally gave in. He reached for her hand, slowly, carefully, as if touching something sacred. You are brave, he said quietly. Braver than anyone I have met. Emily felt courage surge within her. Then trust me. Adrian closed his eyes for a moment, as if surrendering to something he had resisted for centuries. When he opened them, they were softer, warmer, human. Very well, he murmured. We face what comes together. Outside, thunder rolled across the night sky. Inside, the vampire king and the human intern stood side by side, united by fear, danger, and something deeper neither dared name. But Helena was still out there. And her threat was not empty. Emily knew the peace would not last. Adrian knew it too. Yet for one fragile moment, with their hands intertwined and the world trembling beneath them, they allowed themselves to breathe. The next 24 hours wrapped themselves around the company in a tight, suffocating grip. Adrian's guards locked down the penthouse, sealing every entrance with layers of biometric barriers and ancient sigil locks Emily couldn't even decipher. Rowan and Elise doubled patrols. Every vampire loyal to Adrian moved with lethal silence, prepared for another attack. Despite all of this, Emily barely slept. Every sound jolted her awake. Every flicker of the dim penthouse lights made her heart race. But Adrian never left her side. He worked tirelessly through the night, issuing orders, speaking to global allies, tracking Helena's movements. But every time Emily stirred, he turned sharply toward her, like his senses were tethered to her heartbeat. By late afternoon, the sky outside was tinted orange, and Emily finally allowed herself to breathe. She sat on one of the leather couches while Adrian finished a call with the European Council. Contain her. No alliances. No negotiations, Adrian commanded quietly before ending the call. Emily hugged a cushion to her chest. Any news? Adrian sat opposite her, leaning forward. Helena's influence is spreading, but not enough to challenge the throne. Still, she is unpredictable. And unpredictable enemies are the most dangerous. Emily bit her lip. She said she would come for what you love. A shadow crossed Adrian's eyes. She intends to break me. And she believes harming you will achieve that. Emily's heart fluttered in a terrifying, painful way. Maybe I should stay away from you. The silence after that sentence was sharp enough to cut. Adrian rose and walked toward her in 3 fluid steps, taking her hands. You are not a burden, he said softly. You are not a liability. You are a reason to fight, not a reason to fall. Emily looked up at him. But, no, he murmured. Helena wants you gone because you matter. Because you changed something in me that she cannot control. Emily swallowed hard. What did I change? Adrian's voice dropped to something soft and unguarded. Hope. Before she could respond, Rowan entered the penthouse abruptly. His expression tense. My king, Rowan said, bowing faintly. We have a development. Adrian turned. Speak. Rowan hesitated. One of Helena's men was captured. He asked to speak to Emily. Emily stiffened. Me. Why? He said. The girl should hear what's coming. Adrian's jaw clenched. No. She will not. Emily stood. I will. Emily, Adrian warned. She stepped toward him, her voice steady despite the fear twisting inside her. If she is threatening me, I need to know why. I need to know what she's planning. Adrian stared at her with a mixture of frustration and admiration. You are too brave. Or just tired of running, she said quietly. Rowan waited silently for Adrian's decision. Finally Adrian nodded. Very well. Take us to him. They were escorted deep into the building's sublevels, where the air grew colder, heavier, older. Ancient vampire seals glowed faintly on the walls, binding spells Emily couldn't understand. The prisoner was held in a reinforced containment cell, glowing with UV light strips and silver-infused steel. The vampire inside was young, no older than 20 by appearance, but his eyes were red and feral. When he saw Adrian approach, he snarled. But when he saw Emily, he smiled. You're the little human, he rasped. The king's weakness. Adrian stepped forward. Say another word, Anne. Emily touched Adrian's arm. Let him talk. The prisoner laughed in a cracked, shaky voice. She's coming for you, girl. She's coming tonight. Emily's pulse stumbled. Why? What does she want with me? You, the vampire whispered. As bait. Adrian's voice turned lethal. For what purpose? To make you bow, the prisoner hissed. To break you. To take the throne while you're drowning in grief. Emily felt her stomach twist. She thinks killing me will overthrow you. The prisoner grinned through his fanged teeth. Oh, she knows it will. Adrian took a threatening step forward, but the vampire only laughed harder. She said to tell the girl something, he said, locking eyes with Emily. Emily's breath hitched. Tell me what? The prisoner leaned forward, voice dripping with malice. That you can run, but she'll still find you. Adrian pulled Emily back instinctively. We're leaving. As Rowan and Elise sealed the chamber doors behind them, Emily felt the cold seep deeper into her bones. She's coming tonight, Emily whispered. Yes, Adrian said, his voice full of fire and fear. And she will find me waiting. Back in the penthouse, security tripled. Guards stationed themselves along every entry point. Modern systems were reinforced with vampire magic. But as darkness settled, Emily's anxiety grew. She sat on the couch, pulling her knees close. Adrian stood by the window, watching the city with predatory stillness. Adrian, she said quietly, what if she succeeds? What if she gets past your guards? Past the security? Adrian turned slowly. There is only one place in the world Helena would dare to strike. Here, Emily whispered. Because this is where I would die trying to protect you. Emily felt her throat tighten. You can't die. You said you're immortal, Adrian finished. Not invincible. There are ways to kill my kind. Helena knows them. Emily's breath faltered. She stood and walked toward him. Then don't fight alone. Use your counsel. Use Rowan. Use. I would burn the world to keep you alive, Adrian said, his voice dropping low. Do not ask me to risk you. Emily reached up and touched his jaw lightly. Then trust me not to break. Adrian closed his eyes briefly, leaning into her touch. You tremble. I'm scared, she whispered. But I'm here. His eyes opened again, dark, focused, full of something that made her chest ache. Then let us face this fear together. But before she could respond, the lights flickered. All screens went dark. The room plunged into eerie silence. Then, from somewhere above, came a scream. Rowan burst into the penthouse a second later. Breach, he shouted. She's inside the building. Adrian grabbed Emily's hand. Stay behind me, he said, voice shifting into something ancient and commanding. The penthouse hall lights flickered again. Shadows moved unnaturally on the walls. Elise sprinted in, blades drawn. She's cut the power. The entire top level is dark except for emergency lines. She's forcing us into the open. Roars echoed through the building. Some from Helena's rebels, some from Adrian's guards. Then came footsteps. Low. Purposeful. The glass doors at the far end of the penthouse creaked open. And Helena stepped through, smiling. Oh, Adrian, she purred. How predictable you are. Adrian's body tensed like a drawn bowstring. Stay behind me, Emily. Helena's eyes glittered when she saw Emily peeking from behind him. There you are, little human, Helena crooned. You've caused so much trouble. Adrian snarled. A sound so primal Emily had never heard anything like it before. Helena laughed. I came to give you a choice, Adrian. There is no choice, Adrian growled. Helena raised a hand. Either surrender your throne, or I take her heart in front of you. Emily gasped. Adrian moved so fast he blurred, placing himself fully between Helena and Emily. You will die before you touch her, he said in a tone so cold it made Helena's smile fade. Helena studied him for a long moment. Such devotion, she murmured. And all for a human girl. Adrian didn't blink. Say what you want. Threaten what you want. You will not have her. Helena's lips curled into a cruel smile. Then drown with her. She struck. Everything exploded into motion. Rowan intercepted one of Helena's guards. Elise slammed into another. Adrian collided with Helena herself, the two of them crashing through a glass divider. Emily ducked behind a marble column as shards rained around her. Two rogue vampires lunged in her direction, and Rowan threw one across the room while Elise decapitated the other with a clean, terrifying strike. Emily! Rowan shouted. Stay low. Emily nodded, barely able to breathe. Adrian and Helena fought like storms colliding, shadows twisting, glass shattering, air cracking from their speed. Helena moved with ruthless grace. Adrian with furious precision. But Helena wasn't trying to kill him. She was trying to reach Emily. And Emily saw the moment she broke past Adrian's guard. Helena shot toward her like a streak of darkness. Emily froze. But Adrian appeared in front of her just in time, taking Helena's strike across his back. He roared in pain and fell to one knee. Adrian! Emily screamed. Helena raised her hand for a killing blow, and Elise hurled a silver spear, grazing Helena's cheek. Helena snarled and vanished into the shadows. For a moment, the penthouse fell eerily quiet. Then Adrian collapsed. Emily ran to him, dropping to her knees, her hands trembling as she cupped his face. Adrian, please, please, look at me. His eyes fluttered open. He tried to speak but blood stained his lips. Dark, ancient, shimmering. Rowan knelt beside them, face grim. The strike, it was laced with wolfsbane and silver. A deadly combination. Emily felt her vision blur. We can treat it, right? There's a cure. There is, Rowan said. But Helena has it. She took it with her. Emily's heart shattered. She planned this. Yes, Rowan said. She intends for him to die slowly. Adrian's hand closed weakly around Emily's wrist. Do not cry, he whispered. Emily shook her head, tears falling freely. I'm not losing you. I won't. Adrian's voice was barely audible. You are my light. Emily. His eyes closed. His breathing weakened. And Emily realized the truth. No one else could save him. Not Rowan. Not Elise. Not anyone. Only her. Helena wanted Adrian broken. And Emily was the only person Helena had underestimated. She wiped her tears, stood and faced Rowan. Where is Helena going? Rowan hesitated. Emily, tell me. Rowan met her eyes and understood. He nodded once. The abandoned council sanctuary, he said. Underground. East Wing. That's where she keeps the cure. Emily inhaled sharply. Then I'm going there. Elise stepped forward. It's suicide. Maybe, Emily whispered. But I'd rather die trying than watch him die. She turned toward the shattered penthouse doors, fear rising inside her, but something stronger rising above it. Resolve. She looked back once at Adrian, pale and still on the marble floor. I'm coming back, she whispered. And I'm bringing your cure. Then she stepped into the darkness Helena had left behind, and vanished into the night. If you're hooked and hungry for the next twist, don't leave Adrian's fate hanging. Hit like to keep the story alive, subscribe so you never miss a chapter, and smash that notification bell, because what comes next will change everything. Drop your theories in the comments. Will Emily survive the sanctuary? Will Adrian rise again? Or will Helena's shadow win? Your support fuels the next part of the saga. Stay tuned. The night is far from over.